Carly, I'm not in my closet.
Hallelujah. Now we're going to watch the dog behind you.
That's right. So I figure instead of me getting all anxious sitting in the closet, that you could join me in my very humble bedroom with my two dogs that I can't like force off of my bed anymore. I've given up and they just wrestle on the top of it. So you'll have a little show and if you're watching and then they'll die down, but I'm having to hold the microphone because I got nothing to sit it on except for my stomach. So I'm leaning back here. I don't feel great tonight. I have a sore throat and I
You have
have
a cold or do you have like
no,
allergy type stuff?
I've been sneezing. You can hear how I'm underwater a little bit. My ears have been a little plugged. Nose has been runny and I have a sore throat. But like I don't have a cough. Just tired, but like what's new? So, welcome to our podcast tonight. It is Saturday night, July 18th, 9:25. Was once again a battle to get on here. Hey, is that your dog barking?
That's my dog. Yes.
Yeah.
Oh no, she is a really good security system.
Even my dogs notice it. They stopped. They're listening.
You might recognize her too because she's been at your house before.
Yes, she has. Anyway, she's
she
very
sees
serious.
somebody, so her crate is in a place where she can see out.
Okay.
She either sees or hears out the front of our house. So anytime somebody walks by, heaven forbid, they walk by our house, she has to bark at them. Or like a kid comes home or whatever. So yeah, at least I always know when somebody's here.
Yeah, it's true. She's a good watchdog, guard dog.
Yeah.
But yes, we're just hanging out tonight, Saturday night. Carly is my date for the evening. And we wanted to talk about some of the things we did last week, which were those quotes that we kind of live by. So Carly got some of them off of the YouTube comments. What are some of them that you want to read?
Yeah, I thought I didn't see, you didn't interact with the comments a ton this week, right?
No, I did not.
So I thought I would read them to you and just get your response live because, it's fun.
I read them. I just haven't commented much this time because I was working on getting my van back.
Do you have it back?
Yes, it's back.
Hallelujah.
But Adana even damaged the loaner car. So I had to deal with that. Got the van back. We've been dealing with
what kind of damage?
Like it's like a hybrid.
And
it needed to be charged. Well, it was charged, but it just kept killing on her. And I was like, we charged it all night last night. She's like, I know, I don't know what's wrong. So her friends helped her like push it into a charging station, just the closest one, but they had too much momentum. And so they bonked into the charger and it cracked the front bumper, which then cracked the radiator, which then cracked the coolant box, whatever that's called. So all the coolant was out. But and I was like, I'm so sorry. This was our fault. But yet he's like, that's what, that crack created this issue with the coolant. But I was like, no, I think that the issue was with the coolant before because that's why it kept killing.
Oh.
Because it was charged. So it doesn't matter. EV Auto took good care of us. I will shout them out till I die because I could not have lived through that without their help and guidance and expertise. So they helped with that. And then of course we've had a busy week with animals, and today I went to the laundromat. I love the laundromat, and took all the rugs that have been pooped on, got all those cleaned. And then I didn't feel well, but yeah, I've been working hard I made a YouTube post about how I
saw that you closed your first deal.
I did. I closed my first deal with this digital real estate, and it's with an arborist in Florida. And so I've been working on that because like I'm delivering the leads, but then I'm like, okay, you'll get access to the dashboard and you're going to get text messages that notify you, but I have to set those triggers up. I have to set up like the notifications to actually go to the right place. And so I'm like teaching myself to code with chat and learning as I go, but he's expecting, and I'm like, oh crap, like I got the deal, but I'm like not ready.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm doing it in like live action speed here and trying to get this stuff to him as I said that I would. So that's
when you were
priority.
And that's amazing. It should be your priority. That's your moneymaker right now. I mean, it will be.
Yeah.
You hopefully won't have to watch so many dogs. But as I was listening to you talk about that in I think I watched the whole video. But I just thought, Julie, you give people these resources, which is fantastic. But as I'm hearing you, I mean, I hear what you put online, but then I also, we talk about it offline a lot, right? So I know a lot about it. And I don't think you give yourself enough credit, because when you talk about this stuff, I'm like, that is so intimidating to me. But anytime we run into any of the podcast places we've been at this point, when we're sitting there and something goes wrong, you just
jump right in and try to fix it.
Yes, like you Google it, you research it, you figure it out, you YouTube it, you do all of you might not have the answer, you might not know the answer, but you know where to find it. And I think I am so much more intimidated by that side of things. Like, I am very confident in what I naturally know how to do, and I can be resourceful and like use my already God-given talents. But to develop new ones and learn something and research and stuff, that's why I married my husband, because he's my polar opposite, right? It's like, I don't got this. You naturally understand. He built computers when he was little, that's his world. So I would be so intimidated by what you're doing that I just think, man, well, like, you're unstoppable, and you've been building up to this,
Well, that's why it pays to be dumb sometimes. I have not.
You're not dumb. You're resourceful.
Yes, I am resourceful. I am that, but like I don't have anywhere else to turn besides prayer, and prayer's not going to tell me right then and there how to make a lead tracker for this new client who's expecting, a notification source for the leads. And so I've been doing that all week. So my apologies for not replying, but it's been for a good reason.
Well, I thought it would be better that way if you hadn't seen them all, because then, you can respond here.
Yes.
And you won't have read them before.
Read them off. I read a couple of them. I can't remember the others.
Well, I actually looked this one up because it sounded familiar to me, but I couldn't, like, the wording still doesn't sound like the exact one I was thinking of. But a girl named Ashley put, "Some people appear bright until they open their mouth." And so I Googled that one, and I always thought that it was Albert Einstein that said something like that. And in the research that I did, it said that people falsely attribute that to him, but it comes from a quote that says, "We all know light travels faster than sound. That's why some people appear bright until you hear them." Wait, now I can't read my own handwriting. Oh, until you hear them speak. That's what it says. So anyway, that's quoted in several different places, several different times, and they think it's probably an editor of a newspaper. But anyway, I thought that one was interesting. Do you have any thoughts on that one?
I just kept thinking, like, because I put my foot in my mouth all the time. Like, you can be pretty and you can look competent and you can look intelligent, and then you open your mouth and and that just speaks volumes. No pun intended. Have you done something like that?
My dad always speaks with like a large vocabulary. There's a guy online, I think his handle on YouTube is Lionel Nation. His name is Lionel something. He's an attorney. But if you hear him speak, you're like, I need a dictionary. Like, I don't understand. I think I understand contextually what you're saying, but I need to go look it up. And I want to have a bigger vocabulary, not quite that big. I want people to understand me, but I think that's one of the important things about having a big vocabulary and not using, not saying like every 30 seconds, which is, but like is one that our generation uses a ton. The young women use it a ton. I mean, boys and girls, but I work with the young women. So, but anyway, I just said, too. Like is used all the time, but I think more of the bad words, right? I think more of the 4-letter words than anything else, Well, because I think people who use them sound significantly more dumb.
Sorry, just stepping away for a second. She bit off her collar.
Oh, lovely.
What was I going to say? That reminded me when you were saying that we say like a lot, to like and subscribe while it's fresh on our card.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? What were some others that you read?
Okay. if you always do what you've if you always do what you've always done, then you'll get what you've always got.
Yeah, I read that one. Which is why I am like trying this new adventure, because I'm like, I refuse to be in this position next year. And I will say that I have now paid for my own mortgage 2 months in a row.
That's exciting.
Yeah, I've been having the church help me. I mean, it's a fairly inexpensive. My mortgage is $1,200, so
which is wildly inexpensive compared to what mortgages are now.
Because I refinanced in 2020 during COVID and everything, but when he left, I was still paying it until my bishop finally said, "Well, let's help you with that to like take some of the pressure off," which again it felt prideful. Like, no, I can, but he's been helping me for a little while. And then the bishop changed, and I felt weird kind of asking the new one, so, is this going to continue? But he would have, but anyway, my point is I paid that, and that was a big win. And
that's dog money right there.
That is dog money. So as exhausted as we've been, I had someone say, well, why don't you just watch a couple dogs? I'm like, I would love to watch 1 or 2 dogs, but sometimes it's not enough. But that's what I had the laundromat for, and took all the stuff and got it all done in one. So, and then all day long, it's just rinse and repeat, dishwasher, laundry, discipline. And a little bit of
even that though, like, it feels like you've been doing dogs. When did I first tell you about Rover? Has it been about a year that you've been doing dogs?
You can all blame and thank Carly. She's like, hey, I know if one of my friends does Rover. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's brilliant. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't have the brain to think of that. I didn't even think
it was not my brain. Somebody else gave me the idea, and I was like, oh, I got to tell Julie. I've used Rover before. I had used it myself for my own dog.
Same.
And it never even occurred to me to tell you.
Yeah, well, you did. And it has saved my bacon for the last year, because, it's been since June of last year.
But this quote about doing what you've always done, that's not something you've done. I mean, at that point, you had been abandoned for 3 years, right? At that point.
Yeah.
And so the last year has been different, and you are doing better, right? Like, you are more stable financially. You're paying your own mortgage now. Like, that is doing something different. But now you're trying to move in a different direction. You're upping the game, right?
What I meant by doing what you've always done was that, like, it's been 4 years of being in distress.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm done pinching the crap out of the pennies, and I want to be able to live and breathe instead of feel suffocated. I feel like I'm a broken record every single podcast. So I always try to make it uplifting in the end, but like, it's taken its toll on me. I the other night I got 4 hours of sleep, partly because I went to bed at 11:30, and it was early for me. I was like, yes, but then I had a sore throat, and that was keeping me up. So by 12:30 I went and took some ibuprofen, and then at 1 a dog barked, and then it was a ripple effect. So I finally got to sleep by 2, and then I was up at 6 with Naoma, who came into my bed, who said it was too hot. And then, by then it was getting her settled. And then by then it's 6:30. And then another kid wakes up at 7 a.m. for the day. So I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so hammered. It's no wonder I don't feel great. But anyway, we're here, and kind of wanted to talk a little bit about, I guess part of the reason I'm sick is just stress, lack of sleep, and just...
didn't we say last week we used my dad's phrase of burning the candle at both ends?
Yes.
I mean, that's literally what you're doing. I mean, not literally, but that's actually what you're doing is, I go back all the time to these basic principles in the gospel of, like, why are we asked to feed the hungry and clothe the naked? Why are we asked to do that? Right. And it's always because if you can't take care of somebody's physical needs, or if you can't take care of your own physical needs, right? How are you supposed to progress spiritually? How are you supposed to progress, in any other form, educationally or mentally or whatever, right? Like, your physical self is so, so important, and affects everything. I, for one, cannot function with a headache. I tell my friend that I pull all the time. I'm like, sorry, I can't think. I have a headache. And, she jokes that I just can't function if I have a headache. Like some people can just power through. That is not something that I'm good at. I am like, where's the Advil? Right.
Yeah.
So your physical self affects everything else that you do. So the fact that you are so, that cortisol that you talk about all the time, that's a real thing.
Yeah.
The fact that you're able to like stay skinny is amazing to me.
Oh, I'm so worn out, and I'm actually hungry right now. I'm trying, but like I don't have anything good in the house, and even the kids are like, "There's nothing to eat." But I mean, we're going out of town for the first time. It's like our once a year little trip, and I don't want to go buy a bunch of food that's gonna go bad, or we'll just take it.
When do you leave?
The middle of next week.
Okay.
So,
and how long are you gone?
Like till Saturday night.
Okay, so it's not super long.
No.
Okay.
But looking forward to like going somewhere and doing something out of the ordinary. But I've just been a little. I've decided I'm not good at parenting, and I don't know.
Solo parenting is so hard.
And maybe that's what it is, because I'm like, I never would have dreamed saying to my mom and dad the things that are said to me, or the way that I am treated sometimes. And probably likewise, I probably treat them, horribly. And they're like, oh my gosh, I would never treat my kids this way. And it's just constantly feeling like a failure and trying to understand. I mean, I had, like I said, a therapist call and say, when they're depressed like this, they literally cannot do what you're asking them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Things like make the bed, things like get out of bed. But anyway, so I'm struggling with that. I'm struggling with doing it all by myself.
Yeah.
Asking kids to, get their jobs done before they play Nintendo, go walk a dog before you watch a movie, pull some weeds. I make the to-do lists. I'm just like I'm done with straining the relationships because I'm asking them to do jobs in exchange for them to get privileges.
Yep.
But it's like what you said, because I've been in an argument with a couple of my kids this week. My teenagers are difficult for me right now, and I'm sure I'm difficult for them. But it's one thing I don't have anybody to bounce back on, and I don't have good threats. And
okay. Have I told you that my dad worships my mom? Have I told you this?
Yeah. Well, you told me that he worships her. Yeah.
Yeah. And not in the literal sense. We worship Jesus, obviously.
Yeah.
For those listening. But he really does think that the world, begins and ends with my mom, and he loves her and he treats her very well. And he would say, he would come into a room and say, did I hear you tell your mom no? You couldn't possibly have told your mom no, right? Things like that. We don't mess with my mom because we don't mess with my dad.
Yeah.
And my dad's not a big man. He's like, he's even shorter now. I think he's 5'9" because he's got a bad back, but he was like 5'10", 5'11" maybe. But he's a cop. He's trained, right? Like, so when he and my brother would wrestle, my brother, who now is 6'3", but even as a kid, he'd be like, Dad, that's not fair. And my dad would say, I don't fight fair,
Yeah.
and it was all in good fun, but like, you don't mess with my dad. He doesn't come across as somebody that's easy to mess with. And in the best kind of way, right? Like the way a dad should. And so we behaved more towards my mom because my dad made sure that we treated her with respect, and he would take care of us if we didn't. And by what I mean with that is he would send us to our rooms and we would go and we would stay there, right? Like when I send my kids to their room, it's a joke to them. Yeah. It's like, I have to say, I'm going to get your dad or whatever, like Dad's home now. And then they perk up and they're like, okay, because I have reinforcements, right? Like when I'm with my kids all day long and they're used to me getting onto them and they ignore me or whatever. But when Dad's home, he means business. And that's how it was in my house growing up, right? It's just like, you weren't meant to do this alone.
Yeah. I mean, when we were in trouble or if we had talked bad mouth to my mom or something, my dad's an amputee. And so when he would come down the stairs, he'd be like, you'd hear like the thumping and step, because he'd have to like put all the weight on his good leg. What are you guys chewing on now? Chewing on a pair of tights.
Oh
Um,
no.
so so anyway, and then he would curl his lips and talk very matter of fact. He wouldn't yell. But we were
That's
like,
my dad.
oh my gosh. But yeah, I
Hmm.
don't have that luxury and they know it, so they take advantage of it. And then it's put a strain on our relationship. And I don't know what to do about it because there's no fear, from the mom. And I've,
Not good fear or bad fear. There's
yeah,
not. Yeah.
yeah. And, I try to make sure that I'm the safe place to land. And I try to make sure that this is a home that they want to come home to. But they don't always want to come home. And they don't always they actually almost never tell me how they are really feeling because they're just not big talkers. And so I'm having to pull it out of them or have them go into therapy and I am not coping well because they're not coping well. And I
Right.
am still suffering myself. And so how do you help someone, especially kids whose brains aren't developed? Like I feel bad. I'm like, what the heck? My brain is fully developed. I should be able to reason with them and I try, but man, I lose my cool too when there's
Well, their
dishonesty.
brains aren't even fully developed till they're 25.
Oh my gosh.
So the reason why my dad was able to work so well with me in particular is I'm like just a very logic brain person. And so he would just, well, first, I'll tell you this parenting advice that I think is genius and I need to take more of it myself. But my dad, when he wanted to correct us, and it's funny you talk about your dad's leg, and how
Yeah,
you could hear that,
yeah.
because my dad had a very specific way of stepping and he did it on purpose and I could hear him down the wood flooring down my room and yeah, it was one of those, oh gosh, here he comes, and I knew that there was a lecture coming, but my dad would always say, like, I would say like 3 to 5 nice things about you, like, Carly, you're a smart girl, you're a good student, you help your teachers, you're all of this, but why can you not do that at the house? Why can you not man up and be like that to your siblings or whatever, right? Like he would reinforce all the positive, but then he would tell me the one thing, and he was very direct and very bright. Like you couldn't argue with him because you knew he was right, and he was articulate, and um, I don't know how to describe it. Just honest, but logical and reasonable. And it was like, yeah, he's right. So
That's one of
that's
the things.
how.
Yeah, I need to integrate that more, at least telling them all the good things they do about themselves. Because, one of them said, I can't do anything right, Mom. Can't do anything right. And I'm like, they're not wrong. They're not wrong. Because I'm always,
I will tell you though, I feel like I am not somebody who was like super. I have never put my house in like before my kids. I'd rather live in the mess than have to have that relationship because my kind of ADHD lends itself more towards messes than like OCD no messes. You know what I mean? Like I can. My dad calls it a clutter, a radar, but a clutter radar. Our
yeah,
clutter. I have a higher threshold, so my clutter does not go off. At least the older I get, the more I become like less tolerant. Oh my gosh, my kids are so loud. Sorry guys. It's Saturday night and it's 9:45, so they're here with their friends and I don't think the older one knows that I'm doing this. But anyway, um but I've tried really hard to put the relationship before the task. But then even doing that, and I mean I like wait all day for the dishwasher to be unloaded and it doesn't get unloaded. And then it's my fault because I didn't remind them or whatever they're going to say is my fault for, right? But anyway, they still tell me that I'm strict and that they can't ever do anything right. And like some of the things that you say, even though it's me and a co-parent, I have a really good father for my children in the same house. They still say the same stuff that your kids are saying to you.
oh,
So
that's
it's
good.
like,
Makes me
yeah,
feel
don't
better.
be so discouraged because I think it's a little bit more extreme maybe at your house, but not by that much. It's
Well,
just
yeah,
you don't
because
have that extra parent.
I, the rules at my house were way more severe
Oh
and way
yeah.
more strict. So I'm just like, you guys have no idea. Tell me this. When your kid turns 18, or I guess if your kid is paying for their own phone and they're 18, but they're still living at home, do you allow them to do whatever they want with their phone? Because they pay for
No.
it, they bought it, but they live at home.
No, because So I'm a huge believer in letting like the punishment fit the crime. But what people have to understand is how one thing affects another thing, right? So your phone affects how you spend your time, who you talk to, what you're doing, even like how you believe, what you think. All of these things are affected by your phone. And so if I have a kid that is living in my house who doesn't do chores, who doesn't have a job, who doesn't, whatever it is, they're not pulling their weight and all this stuff, I'd be like, okay, well, something's got to change. Either you've got to change your phone stuff, your phone habits, and like porn and all of that. Like, we're not doing that at my house. And so if all of that stuff is coming in with your phone, either the phone's got to go, you've got to change it, or you've got to go. You decide. Right. Like, and I've even talked to a friend of mine who had to kick her oldest daughter, out of the house. It's a really sad story. I think they're in a better place now, but she got caught up in actually like a sexting scandal.
Jeez.
In like a small town, and it just ruined her whole high school and all of this stuff, because like a picture of her got sent around to a lot of people. And I don't know the details, but she really struggled for a long time. And she got so bad that the mom and dad were like, we have 4 other children here. It's something like that, 4 or 5. I can't remember how many they have. But anyway, and they were like, your behavior is directly impacting these other humans that we also are in charge of.
Right.
And you can't do that. Like, we love you, we want you here, but you cannot be here and behave that way. And so the mom told me that so she got kicked out of the house, and they put a tracker on her car. And because this is before the days of the Find My Friends, I bet you could do it differently now, or just use an Apple tag or something. But anyway, they put a tracker on her car, and they followed her around so that, like, what?
They can turn off that location sometimes.
Yeah, and if they turn that off, then you'd have to do an Apple tag or something they don't know about, or put an old school tracker on their car. But they followed her that way because she was homeless, sleeping in her car and in scary places, and so the dad would like follow her around Salt Lake and whatever, and like watch her sleep in her car to make sure that she was safe.
Oh my
God. It broke their heart to kick her out of the house, but they didn't know what else to do because these other kids were being hurt by her behavior.
So what ended up happening?
I think along the way, she got her act together enough. Like, they repaired the relationship, but she got in a relationship with a really dumb boy. They ended up, I don't think she ever had a baby with him, but they did get married. And I think they're probably not married now. I think they're divorced.
That's the thing that I think worries me is first of all, we don't want to call it daddy issues because that puts blame on the kid or on the mom. And this,
right.
I've been talking a lot about this in my stories on Instagram, that single mothers, like an independent woman, you don't ever hear independent man.
Yeah.
And, we talk about single moms and daddy issues. These are all from the failures of the man. Again, women do the same thing, but this platform is mostly about women who's,
women can create huge issues for their kids.
But like, and I don't want to say like, oh, my girls are going to have daddy issues, but like, it's a thing where they're going to turn to the first person of the opposite sex that gives them a good attention, whether they're a crappy person or not. And I don't know how to deal with that either. I don't have, I can suggest uncles to talk to. I can suggest, church leaders to talk to, or just a man that they respect, or there's another poodle doodle. They can talk to those too, but like, I can't force, I cannot force them to do anything.
No, they're at an age where it just is impossible.
Which is why, again, here we go, bring it up the court, which is why it's impossible to force them to get into the car of the other parent. I can't even force them, to make a phone call, to go mow the lawn outside. All I can do is enforce consequences, which then, causes massive strain on the relationship. So I'm in this place where I'm trying to get them what they need to do to pull their weight, to be able to have their privileges. I think I've talked about this on the podcast where everything is frosting. Have you heard of that?
I don't think so.
Where my voice is so bad, but you provide it's basically all you have to provide as a parent is food, shelter, and clothes. That's it.
Oh, yeah.
Everything else is frosting. So you've got the main cake, with the batter, the eggs, the flour, but everything else, the frosting, the what's the fondant, the candles, the decorations, it's all extra. It's all fluff. So
Yeah.
it's like I want to tell my kids, like, look, your phone, your individual, your own bedroom, your bike, the like the fact that you can drive a car, and all of these things are privileges that can be taken away, and they can't see that, and they don't care.
No.
And
Well,
then
the
when
life
I
that
take
they
them, they're
lead
like,
now.
"You're so controlling." I'm like, "Oh, great." Now my kids think I'm controlling, and so does the petitioner, so that's great.
Well, I mean, that's an easy one, right? You can say anybody who puts their foot down can be considered controlling. And the
Yeah.
kids, nowadays, they grow up seeing way too much, way too much. Like they see what people are doing, what they're not doing, who they're with, where they are. I mean, my kid doesn't have to go knock on doors to find a friend. She pulls open her Find My Friends and she's
Wow.
like, oh, this person is at this place and that place. And oh, they're together and not with me. And I mean,
Yeah,
like,
and it
they deal with
causes
so
problems.
many things. It does. It causes so many
Yeah.
problems. It's like everything else. Anything good can be used for evil, right?
Yeah.
And they contend with a lot. And I want to give kids a huge benefit of the doubt, but we also have to like kind of pull them back down a little bit into reality and be like, this is not normal, nor is it real. This is not appropriate for your development. Like we have to, I send my kids like Instagram reels and stuff of research of like, this is why I do this, because the doctors, everybody who does any sort of research is saying, this is not good for you. I'm not crazy. It's not about
Well,
control. This
that's
is about your development.
that's like with here we go again, Charlie Kirk, right? My kids, everyone saw a murder live on screen.
Yep. On screen.
Like everyone saw it. Xander came home. He didn't want to see it. He doesn't like violence or to watch it or anything, but he came home troubled because he had seen like the uncensored version of it
Yep.
up close, and
Yep.
I'm like, it was not a movie, like it was real life bloodshed.
Yep.
And I'm like, what is that doing to their brains? In fact, he had a dream last night. He came and told me that he had a dream that he was outside standing with the petitioner, and the petitioner just gave him this cold, cold look. And then he came inside, and petitioner was sitting on the stairs, pulled out a gun and shot me dead.
Wow, that'll mess a kid up.
He's like, I was crying. I woke myself up crying. I'm like, well, that's just great. He's like, and then he pointed the gun at me, and that's when I woke up. I was like, so what is going on in the minds of my kids? Is this why they act out? Do I get the luxury of blaming everything on the abandoner? Or is this just part of, growing and being teens, or are they screwed?
No, that nobody is beyond help or fixing. In fact, I'm trying to think of, okay, this is where it came from. I was listening to the Comeback podcast. Ashley, can't remember her last name. It was called the Comeback Podcast. And she was talking about a guy who had been married and divorced twice, had two kids with each, like one kid with each woman, and just like total druggy, all the things, And the short story is he started dating a new girl in New Jersey, even though like he lived in Utah. And she like got interested in the church of all things. He was like, that's weird. I haven't been to church in like 7 years, but he kind of like took her to the local church and introduced her to the missionaries and was like, she's interested. I'm not, leave me alone. But like, here you go. And then he went back to Utah. And while he was there, I can't remember why, but he ended up at a sacrament meeting where, I hope I'm getting it right. I think it was Elder Holland. I'm pretty sure it was Elder Holland that saw him. Like he's speaking and Holland sees him, and I think they made eye contact or something, if I'm remembering right. But his girlfriend, he was texting, he was like, oh, I'm at this thing and there's like the equivalent of like a pope here or whatever. And she said, well, you should go see him. If you can make it up to see him, you should. And he goes, it doesn't, like, it's not really that kind of thing, whatever. But to make a long story short, he ended up not only seeing Holland, like he comes and he gives him a hug or somebody says, how you doing? And he goes, not great, to be honest. And then he leaves, like it's just a quick interaction. And then as he's leaving the building, he sees Holland again. And Elder Holland is like, comes up and he's like, tell me what's going on. How can I help you or whatever? And he's like, I'm not doing great. Anyway, he like just bursts into tears, shares his heart with them. And again, to make a longer story short, he ends up being like Holland follows him for years in his story and talks to him and helps give him advice. And he ends up sealing him in the temple with his new wife eventually down the road.
Wow.
I'm trying to think of like the details in the story. Oh, he gave him a blessing. He gives him an apostolic blessing, which was incredible. He calls him to his office and is like, come meet me here. I want to give you a blessing, like whatever. Okay. This is what brought me to this though. The reason I thought of this story, I just thought it was so cool to meet an apostle and all of this. But the thing that he said when he met him that first day that like kind of, I think could bring people to their knees is he just said, I am doing really bad. And, like I don't know if I could ever come back kind of thing. And he said I need to listen to the podcast again, but he said something to the effect of, well, are you breathing? Are you here? And he's like, well, yeah. And he goes, then you haven't done anything that you can't come back from. Like all you need is to be alive basically. And, you can always come back. The Savior loves you. Like you're never too far gone for the Savior, And the way that he talked about the story, he said he never even told people about his relationship with them until after he passed away, because he just felt like it was just sacred and it wasn't his place to like tout this story. But Elder Holland had such a big impact on him and his life. And I just think I love the story because it's a reminder that apostles really care about people, that they're actually real. But that's like the living embodiment of the Savior. Go to the one to see. And Elder Holland did say later on after he was, I don't know how far into the story, maybe after he's baptized or something, but he said, I want you to know that the Lord planned that meeting that day. Like that was the Lord who planned for that to happen.
Yeah.
I knew I needed to see you, right? And I knew I needed to help you. And so I think about that with your kids. I think about that with anybody who needs help. Like nobody's too far gone, and the Lord sees them, right? The Lord sees them. And then I was also going to tell you, I have another friend who is a young women's president, and she also had for a couple of years she had a teenager that was really putting them through stuff. They were worried about her. They had to watch her eat. They had to she was just like depressed and anxious and not eating and all these things. Anyway, I was talking to her kind of on the tail end of that, but also being a young women's president. And she said, I had this like breakthrough aha moment when I realized that these kids are not just mine. They're Heavenly Father's kids, and He cares about them even more than I do. That I am only here as like a steward to help them. And so she's like, so even with my own kid, I would pray and be like, I don't got this. So you got this, right? Like, this is your plan. These are your kids, and I know you love them. So when you've got an answer, you figured out what to do with them, just let me know. I'll do whatever you need me to do. But like, she gave it to God in a really real way of like, I understand that it's not just my job alone, that you gave me these kids as a stewardship, her own kids and in the young women's organization. And it was just like this freeing, like the spiritual and emotional and like even physical freeing and like enlightenment that I could see on her face when it was like, I don't have to carry this burden. These are God's kids, and he loves them even more than I do, and He'll help them figure it out. And He'll use me when He can, but like, it's not your job, Julie, to make sure that your kids all stay on the straight and narrow and all make the right choices and all do all you. That's not your job. Your job is to love them and to bring them to the Spirit and to let God work in their life if they'll let it. But you can't even do that. Like, you can't make them know God. You can remind them, but that's all you can do, So be kind to yourself. And like, it's kind of like when I was teaching, I'm just the secretary right now, but I used to be a teacher. And when I was teaching, it was really freeing for me to realize that it's not my job to convert anybody. My job is to invite them and to invite the Spirit. And then the Spirit does the rest.
The problem I'm having is that when I love them, Trey, go to bed, buddy. Will you shut this door, Trey? When I love them or show them love, it's right. It's like, it's stopping your kid from doing something that's going to put them in danger. And they think of it as control. And then so the relationship is strained because they think that you're controlling them when it's love because you're trying to protect them.
You know what's worse?
Medium.
What's worse is being out at 12:30 at night, 1 o'clock at night, 2 a.m, and being that friend whose parents have no clue where they are. Why? Because they don't care. They couldn't be bothered. They're too tired. Right? Yeah. I think it's worse to feel like nobody cares and loves you than it is to know that somebody loves you and is trying to control your life or whatever they think, right? They need to know that there is somebody who will hold them accountable, that cares where they are, that wants them to succeed, that knows they can do more, they can achieve better.
It's interesting when you say that because I remember anytime I'd have a girls' night, when I was married, I'd go and be with girlfriends or with cousins. He never checked in. Like if I was gone after midnight, or he would never call me or be like, "Hey, when are you coming home? And are you okay?" You say never, not once. And it didn't bother me. It did at first, but then I realized he didn't care. And so I stopped letting it bother me. Like when he wouldn't ever eat dinner with us at the table, I realized that that's not something that he did. And I realized that that was not a habit that he had formed or created, but he could have tried to eat dinner with us, when we were at home, and he never did. And he never came to bed with me. Like my parents always went to bed together at the same time. And I realized that doesn't mean anything like necessarily, but it was just what I saw growing up. And so I thought that was healthy.
It is a pattern of healthy behavior.
Yeah. And you go to bed together.
Mm-hmm.
And I always went to bed first because he was a night owl. Who knows what he was doing? Now that I think of it, I don't know. But he never came to bed with me. So it's just like all those things. Even then I didn't feel cared for or watched after, by the person who you think loves you the most. Because I was always, and what's sad, and maybe it's a blessing in disguise, because I think I've been able to handle loneliness a little bit better. Because that's like the least of my worries is being lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind
with 8 kids. You're not going to ever really be lonely.
Yeah. But as far as loneliness with companionship and able to confide in someone and that you love and the family that you created together, and nobody loves your kids more than both of you together. It's just not true in my case anymore. I just did it all alone. So I don't struggle going to bed alone. I know there's so many women, maybe you're like this. I have sisters like this and friends like this who will not stay home alone if their husband's out of town. They'll go to their mom's house and sleep because they're afraid. They'll go sleep at their mom's house for the 3 days he's on a business trip or whatever. And it just never bothered me. I don't care. And I got to the point where I started to prefer going to bed alone. I preferred when he didn't call to check in, because I was living my own life. I was like, he obviously doesn't. Maybe it was a defense mechanism to take away the pain from knowing that he really didn't give a rip where I was. And then, if I'd called to check on him, like, "Hey, are you okay? Like, where are you?" It would be considered like I was treating him like a little boy. When to me,
he was annoyed.
Yeah, I cared about him and was like, I thought it was courteous to let somebody know when you were going to be home. Especially your spouse. And so when I would tell him what time I'd be home, he wouldn't even respond. He didn't care. So I stopped.
Yeah, we've had this conversation a little bit before, because, when we're planning the podcast or whatever, like, you're working around the single mom, doing the 8-kid thing, and I'm working around not being single and having a husband that does care where I'm at and what I'm doing. And,
and I cannot relate to it. Because Carly will say all the time, "Let me ask James." I'm like, why? I mean, I get it, right? I mean, it's being courteous and seeing if he can stay home with the kids and whatever. I mean,
because we're a team. And what the thing about a good marriage is that you have to understand that what you do affects the other person, right? Like, he does the same thing for me. He's not going to just go and, hang out with guys for 5 hours and tell me 2 minutes before and be like, I'm leaving. You're watching the kids. Bye.
Yeah.
No, we're a team. And in fact, one of the things that he started saying years ago was, I'm on Team Carly, right? Like, I am here to be on your team. I'm not fighting against you, and I'll say the same thing to him. Like, I'm on your team. So I just think it's an unhealthy relationship when you see yourself more individually than you do together, and when you stop thinking about, if I do this, how will it affect this other person? Because and I do think though that there's some wiggle room when you're in a relationship where the person travels a lot, right? Or they work late hours or something. Like, not everybody has the same schedule. James, he works locally. He only travels a couple times a year, maybe, with his current position. And he works a lot from home. And so, like, our schedules affect each other a lot. And, we rely on each other a lot for various things. But if you have a husband that's traveling all the time, you have to be independent, type A. You have to be okay by yourself, sleeping alone, all of those things, right? So it's not, I don't want to paint a picture for everybody that, like, if your husband's not checking on you all the time, or you're sleeping in bed by yourself or whatever, that's not healthy either. Because there's a balance, and it has to do with the reality of your life, right? And the reality of your life, the reason why you didn't have the red flags then is because he was a performer. So he had to be gone. He traveled, and you just, like, you fall into these habits, and it doesn't feel intentional. It just feels like, well, this is just how it is. And you've never been married before, Julie. So you don't know what is normal. All you know is what your parents did.
Yeah. And my dad called my mom every day that he was gone out of town.
Mm-hmm.
It was always at night, always before they went to bed. He would call her and they'd check in on each other during the day. And what I would have given for a check-in phone call when he was out of town. And it happened sometimes. But, like, there would be a few days that would go by sometimes. And I'm like, I'm not going to call him because I'm just, like, checking in and telling him about the day. And I never got that reciprocated, or at least not often.
You feel like you're bugging him if you never get it reciprocated.
And so I'm like, maybe I now have personality disorder. Oh, it's because I did this with my thumb. I got up. I don't know where the balloons came from. Maybe.
And I was like, well, what did you do to get the balloons then?
Nope, I didn't get any balloons. If you're watching, sorry, we just had another thumbs up emoji that came up. But it just reminds me of, this is kind of a personal experience that I had. But it was like maybe 3 weeks before he told me that he was done. I had planned a trip to Vegas because I had just finished, and Naoma was old enough to leave. She was 18 months old, and I was like, I'm going to do this, and found a sitter. And I found, of course, Nigerian food because there's no Nigerian restaurants in Utah, but I found one in Vegas. So we surprised him. I surprised him by going to Vegas, and planned the trip, because it's hard to surprise someone who gets to travel the world and see everything and go everywhere and has a green room wherever he goes and has transportation wherever he goes, and it's just picked up and goes to and from and doesn't have to pay a tip, but now we're using our own money to get Ubers and to book a flight for a plane.
Yeah.
And having to find our own transportation. It's not as luxurious for him, but anyway, so it was hard to plan a trip and surprise him and make it feel like he's still being wined and dined, and at the same time, like, have a balance.
You feel like you're competing with his lifestyle.
Yeah. And yet I'm his freaking wife. So it was hard because and I took him and let him sit in shotgun in the front seat of a speed racing car. So we went and did like a track with a professional race driver.
Was he kind during this? Was he excited? Yeah. Did he treat you normally?
Yeah. He was kind, and it was fun. But again, and he didn't say anything like, you don't have this plan, and you don't have a ride. And he didn't have any. It was just like, sorry, in my head, we have to take a taxi instead of like whatever. But it was just hard to. What I'm saying is, and the point will come after, it was difficult to plan this. And it was hard to get care for the kids and get management for the household. It was hard to spend the money, but I was like, my parents traveled and it's how you get closer to each other. And I planned an itinerary with the racing of the cars and with staying in Vegas. And I love the buffets there. So we went to a buffet and I thought it was the perfect moment to ask him what he thought about a vasectomy, because I'm done, man. I am done with
it. Is so many.
Oh my gosh. Right. Well, we've done it all. Birth control pills. They always gave me a headache. The little blue pill would give me a headache, and I don't get headaches. I did the NuvaRing. Okay. So it's just more hormones. I did the IUD. We did the condoms, we did all of it. And I'm like, I am done shoving stuff up and orally like injecting. I'm done doing this. I've been in the postpartum phase. Like, I didn't say this, but I wanted to say it's your turn. Like, could you have the courtesy of doing this? But I didn't say it like that. I just simply said, hey, what do you think about a vasectomy? He's like, no, I'm not doing that. I was like, oh, okay, well, why? And he just would not give me a good reason. I kind of thought that maybe it was a church thing. I thought that maybe he, because Elder Bednar gave a talk about not distorting our bodies and not messing with reproductive organs. I mean, I'm sure he was mostly referring to kids and teenagers that were doing those things before they were even, at the age of being viable to have kids and whatever, and deciding beforehand. I don't know. And some of us have taken it to heart too much. And I mean, some of us were
I should read that one. I don't know that I've ever read that one.
Some of us were thinking that we couldn't get, any piercings and any tattoos and any kind of...
How old is that talk?
Augmentation. I don't know. I'll have to find it.
Yeah.
But he was an apostle at the time. How long has he been an apostle? 20 years? So with
long time. Yeah.
Anyway, so I thought that it might be that he didn't want to, mess with the reproductive organs or maybe he was fearful. And he was like, no, I'm not doing that. And I was like, and I'm trying to tread very lightly. And I was like, okay, well, I just, I've done a lot. I've been nursing for 12 years. I have taken all the things, I have done all the birth control, and you've just been able to enjoy. I said, and I would love to be able to enjoy just like you without having any added effects, added hormones, or having to remember, like I don't even remember how I said it, but I'm like, what do you think about like taking the turn this time? Again, he refused. And I guess maybe if he would have been understanding, he's like, you don't have to take that. I'm not taking it either. I'm not doing it either. And I was like, well,
so the alternative is just to always be pregnant and have more kids.
Yeah.
It feels very unsatisfying and selfish. It feels like...
And he's like, well, it's fine. Then, and I was like, and I said that it just feels selfish. And as soon as I said that word, he got so pissed at me. He just said, oh, so now I'm selfish? Now I'm selfish? I bust my butt, blah, 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 to make sure, blah, 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 blah. And got up. We're in the middle of a buffet at MGM. He got up and left. And I'm sitting at the table, stunned, because I was like, maybe I can have this conversation with him when we're both happy and he's, we're on a trip together. It went really south, even though I was trying so carefully to tread so lightly and not shove it in his face like, you're a selfish jerk that always just gets to please yourself and it's my turn. You take it. Like, I could have been a lot more harsh, but I was trying to be kind and be like, well, yes, that works, but I think it would be more enjoyable for me, which then makes the whole experience better if I didn't have to worry about getting pregnant all the time. Well, let's just do what we've been always doing. Yes, but I'm left unsatisfied and, sometimes it feels selfish. I'm just trying to be so careful. He freaks out. He leaves. Just leaves me there. And I still have things planned and he doesn't come back. And I take a walk around the hotel a few times, the casino, and go back upstairs in the room and he's just on his computer working on whatever he was working on. And so I just laid down on the bed for the rest of the night. And then we go to sleep. And then there's a whole day planned where he stayed in his room. Stayed in the room. I got an Uber and I went to the outlets in Vegas and just looked around. I didn't buy a single thing because I was like so distraught by just what a waste of a trip, what a waste of an experience, what a waste of a conversation, that could have been handled differently, but I didn't know how else to make it happen differently. And by the time I got back, because I was like, I'm going to make the most of this, even if I'm by myself, because I went through so much work to get the kids taken care of and planned and saving for it, and so I get back to the hotel. I don't even remember if he's in the room or if he's still doing the same thing. And I just went to bed. And then we got up and left for the airport the next morning. And then 3 weeks later, he was like, I'm done. I want a divorce. I want out. I can't do this anymore. And I can't even remember why I'm telling this story, other than the fact that even then it felt like abandonment and it felt like discard. And I can only imagine if I'm feeling that as the wife, what little kids feel like that from their own dad, who is not responsive, who is not attending events, who is not providing financially. I think that I want to wish that if it were me as a kid that I wouldn't care because it's been so long, so now it's normal. But maybe the nervous system of the mom plays out so much on them that I've got to find healing for myself, and I'm working on it, but it is just so slow when I'm still struggling. And then their relationships with kids are strained, and I don't know how to get.
Well, you're overstimulated all the time too, which does not help at all.
And overtired, and then I can't tell you the amount of times I hear, "Why are you so mad?" And I'm like, "You're right, I am mad." It's constant irritability. It's constant overwhelm. And so I take an antidepressant and I take an anti-anxiety when maybe it's just ADHD all around and it's displaying itself differently. I don't even know, but it's like I have nothing left in the tank. And so when they are having a bad day, or they're arguing with me, when I am doing all the things that I can to keep myself balanced, to keep the nervous system and the mental systems all working and firing properly, is hard when my kids aren't willing to do the same. Because
it's really hard because they don't understand, and they're constantly reminded of what they don't have, right? Like what their friends have that they don't. It's not just, this is something that has affected everything from their financial situation to their church situation to how things are done at home, or even the food that they eat. Like everything has changed for them, and they feel so out of control that nobody asks them. Nobody says, it's not like the petitioner said, how would you feel if I did this? And, how would you feel if this happened and I did that? No, that nobody ever consulted them. And kids take on the blame themselves too. They say, well, if I had done this differently, maybe he would have stayed or whatever. It's so normal for them to play this out in their mind. And so it's just this, it's affected so many things for them. And I think that sometimes they do forget and they have that luxury for a little while, but then they go to an event that a dad should be at and he's not there. Or, they have a church thing coming up and
they had daddy-daughter dates and dads and donuts at school. And I'm just like, oh, yes. I'm that family that's like, let's please not sing. Is it Father's Day is a special? No, what's the Father's Day songs? I don't even know.
I'm so glad when daddy comes home.
Yes, glad as I can be. I'm like, oh my gosh, I am that family, that is like, let's just not go to church on Father's Day. But
I don't blame you. I wouldn't either. It would be way too hard. I will say the only when I look at my life and some of the hard things that we've dealt with, I can just say there are always compensatory blessings. There are always ways that the Lord makes up for it, and he'll do it in your life and he'll do it in theirs. It might not be as straightforward as sending another man to kind of pick up the pieces, but there will be people, there will be events, there will be lessons that they learn, because, dads can abandon, God doesn't, right? That's not who he is. And I just that's one of the things that I know to my core is that even though people will disappoint, God won't. We might not understand everything that he says and everything that he wants us to do. And, we might not understand all that God has in store, but I do know, like with 100% certainty, that he can make something better of our lives than we can. Yeah. And he knew that this was going to happen. He still, remember that episode that we did when you were like, I knew that I was supposed to have these 8 kids, even though God knew that this is going to happen. He still wanted you to be their mom for whatever reason, and he will make it work out in the end. He will. That's the plan. That's what will happen. I know it.
Yeah. I didn't tell you though the rest of the story. A couple weeks later, I think.
Between the trip and when he left, in between there somewhere?
I think so. Yeah. It had to have been. I guess the trip was in May. He left August 1st, but told me in July. So somewhere between June and July, we were talking about vasectomies again. And, I had dropped it at that point, but I did ask, why, is this a church thing? This is when things were mended and things were fine and we could talk, no more silent treatment. Had gotten over it. I had just moved on, but I said, was it because of church? He's like, no. I was like, well then why wouldn't you do it? Is it because you're afraid and you just don't want, is it your manhood? He's like, no. I was like, well, what is it? And he said, well, what happens if, I didn't want to tell you this, but what happens if you die and, I get remarried and she wants kids? And I was like, oh, so wait, if I die, you're going to remarry. That means you're going to remarry someone in their 20s or 30s that still wants to have kids, and you are in your 50s. So you're telling me that you would have more kids after these 8 with someone else? And he's like, yeah, if she wanted kids, then yeah. I was like, okay, well, so he doesn't want to have a vasectomy in case I die and he wants more kids with another woman. I was just like,
yeah, it's not in case you die.
No. No, that's for sure. That's confirmed a little later.
I kind of was thinking that when you were saying, the first time they said he didn't want a vasectomy, I was like, he wants to have kids with somebody else. That's what it is.
Well, now it's confirmed. I'm not saying I busted in cheating intimately or physically, because I didn't, but I did bust some writings that were written that were telling about where his heart really was. And what is it? Is it the Bible or the Book of Mormon? I think it's the Bible that says he that lusts in his heart hath committed adultery already. That's how I felt. So I'm just as messed up as my kids. And maybe that's why we're having some struggles right now. But it's also been a very long 4 years of a lot of struggling, a lot of financial pressure, a lot of even public pressure, because this has been public humiliation for me.
Well, that was another thing I was thinking. With your kids too, it's like, it's not just being reminded at father's events and stuff. Your kids get videos and pictures of him on their phones from friends that see him around. And
they just went to FSY. And wait, your dad's Alex Boye? And India's like, ugh. Because then they'll start playing his music. And India does not yet have the courage to say what happened, because so many of these people don't know. Because 4 years ago, these 13-year-olds were 9, Yep. So they don't know, and she doesn't want to say anything yet. And like I've said before, it's so that she doesn't disappoint them as fans. So they hear people will be blasting his music once they find out who the kids are. They'll show a piece of the music video that they might find funny or stupid or good, and they'll show it to them. And it's just like insult to injury all the time.
Well, and then they get pictures of him on dates and stuff.
Yes. Well, and then Adana saw him at a place where he was not probably on his best behavior. And no, Adana didn't, but a friend did and videoed it for her and sent it to her.
Yeah.
Like, look what your dad's doing. And we're just like, oh my gosh. Because everyone.
You can't escape him, because everybody knows who he is.
Yeah.
Everybody unless you can all change your last name and never speak his name again. How many people do you know with that last name? Nobody.
No.
right?
No, because it doesn't exist. Everybody thinks it's French. And if you didn't know this, his last name isn't even Boyer.
Isn't it a long name?
Yes, I should go get the birth certificate, a copy of it, but that it says that the last name is Ekun Boyejo. Ekunboyejo. That's the full name. And which is Nigerian. But you can even see, I can hear the Draper fireworks going off for Draper Days, but you can see that on the birth certificate it says in one handwriting it says Alexander Babatunde Abayomi, and all of them are long. Those are all his middle names, and it's in a certain kind of font. And then a different font or somebody else's different handwriting writes in capital letters Boye. It's like they just took out the middle, or his mom was bitter at the dad. I don't know. No one knows. And just took a piece of that like name and stuck it on the birth certificate. So there's that bloodline like doesn't even exist. So anyway, I don't know where that came from, but yeah, like I wanted to change their names to the full last name. So at least they maybe have
if you get full legal custody, can you change your last names?
I asked that to my attorneys, and I can't remember what they said. I think it was something like, I think you'd still have to ask about that. I don't know. Or you have to wait till they're 18 or something. I can't remember. But, I mean, Kenya wants to be called Kenya Jeppson. Her things at school, her folders and her desk, like with the dry erase, says Kenya Jeppson. Because it's painful. I get it. Having to sign Boye on anything was painful. Constant reminders, Anyway.
And I just think it adds insult to injury because, like, my little sister, when she got divorced, she was working in the healthcare industry, and she had a login name at the hospital. And when she got divorced, they wouldn't change the login name. Every time she went into work, it was painful for her. And she'd only been married 5 years and had no kids. So I can only imagine, being in your spot or your kid's spot. And then to add insult to injury, you're dealing with everybody knowing who he is and everybody sending you like you cannot escape what he's doing, where he is, all of this stuff. And I'm sure the kids are just kind of like, enough already. Like, stop.
Because they get embarrassed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's public humiliation to get the text online, and to get picture texts from friends. Oh, I'm so sorry. And I was like, about what? Because he had announced it. So anyway, thank you for listening tonight. I have to go to bed. I do not feel good. You can hear it in my voice. The dogs have finally chilled out. And my voice is hoarse and raspy. But I want to get this out for Monday. Thanks for always listening and for being supportive. Like and subscribe if you haven't. Tell us what you think.
If you have any magic answers for teenagers, let us know. Because I will also tell you, Julie, some of what you talk to me about, both on and offline, it's so very normal for teenagers.
Yeah.
I think it's easy for you to take the heat yourself and say, this is because of the divorce, or this is because I'm, this, that, or the other. But so much of it is just being teenagers.
Yeah.
So give yourself a lot of grace.
I just don't remember lying to my parents.
I don't remember. I didn't lie to my parents either because my dad was a detective. And not only that, but I also was like, I know that based on my history that I'm the unlucky person that, like, the one time I break the rules, I'm going to be caught. So I was like always following the rules because I fully believed that. I still kind of do that. Like, it's just my luck,
Yeah.
So anyway, lying to parents is not good, but it does happen. And I mean, I've told you stuff that I hear the teenage kids around us doing, right? The taxiing stuff, all of that. So kids are dumb. Kids are very dumb. And I think, unfortunately, they're growing up in an area, in a day and age, and a time in history where their mistakes can last a lifetime, and people know about them and they remember them far longer than ever before because they're documented
right there at their fingertips.
Yeah. So that's what they don't understand.
No.
So just keep telling God to figure it out, because you can't.
No kidding. I am a lost cause. All right, you guys, over and out from the Gritty Mamas podcast. We'll see you
next time.